Hi and welcome, Libby Boyd here. This is 90 Days New Agent with Libby Boyd. Today we're going to talk about the buyer consultation. For years I was selling real estate and I would consider myself a waitress. I know that sounds a little funny, but basically what would happen is people were out there and they knew I did real estate, and I'd be sitting around my desk and, waiting for people to call. And every once in a while, somebody would call and say, "Hi, I'd like to buy a house." And I'm like, "Great. What can I get you?" Right? Not a great way to go about it. Today, what I want you to do is really to focus on working out your buyer consultation. So there's a couple different things that happen here. It really shifts the mind frame. I was just coaching some new agents and I said, "What do you wish you knew back when you started?" And they said that you can fire clients. Wow. It took me a lot of years to know that. But here's the thing. When you go through this buyer consultation, it's a mutual vetting situation. So they are vetting you as an agent, and you are also vetting them for how ready they are and how much they're actually going to step forward and buy that property when they're ready. So this has taken a couple years, a lot of different trainings to curate what I've put together as my buyer consultation. I'd like to walk you through it today. Here's what works for me, and I'll explain exactly why I ask these questions in this order. So first thing I do is I grab my trusty clipboard. So the minute I show up and I start doing this, what does this remind you of? To me, it reminds me of my doctor's office. Right? They're going to take my vitals. They're going to take my height, my weight, my blood pressure. They're going to write it down and document it. So many agents just wing it. That is the problem with being a new agent. And actually, a lot of people do this through their whole career. They just wing it. And that is not how you're going to build your real estate business. So first thing you need to do is run your business like a business and act like a true professional that you are. So you need to have your intake form. I keep this on file with their documentation. If I'm working with somebody else, I take a photo of it and share it with them so they can see here's where we started. Now things change. The joke is we always know that a lot of buyers say they want 4 bedrooms and then they end up with 8 bedrooms, right? Some people say they want a large yard and then they ended up with the small postage size yard because they don't want to maintain it. So they can change their minds. But here is why this step is so important, because it's putting them on the spot, treating like a professional. And I've worked with clients, we've bought and sold maybe 3 different rounds of houses at this point. And when I started, I didn't have this form. So here we are 3 houses later buying yet again. And I say, "Listen, I've learned through my career, if I don't do this step, I'm missing something. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take a step back and go ahead and go through this. I know a lot of the answers already, but here's where I'd like to start." Now, this is often a follow-up from something I did on the phone already. So if somebody calls me first, I do have a preliminary one that I could share with you in another video, but there's some kind of baseline things like, what are you thinking? This interview is for the first time you sit down with them. Sometimes we are at their house. If they own a house, they have to sell. Now I have a whole nother section. That's the listing questions. Fairly different, but also just as vital to actually have the steps. So let me just walk you through my buyer consultation. This sounds really silly to ask them, "What is your name on title?" Now, early on, I had a client, Randy, and I thought that all Randys were Randalls. I went through the whole contract, wrote it up, and he's like, "Actually, my name's Randolph." I had no idea. I didn't ask this question from the beginning. And guess what? I had to redo all their contract, including the buyer agency contract and the contract to buy and sell real estate, because I had his name wrong. Really basic things. The other thing this first step does is asking your name, your phone number, and your email, right? We're sending softballs up. Right? I used to work in comedy, and sometimes you just want to get the people warmed up to start clapping and laughing. So you say, "Give it out to Minneapolis," right? And they'd all start clapping, right? That's called a warm up. So we're doing the same thing here. We're asking very easy questions. So we're going to warm them up. So what's your name as you'd like to take title? It's important because people often have nicknames. They have different names. So you start there, your phone number and your email. If you don't have these basic things, that's a problem. Where are you living now? What's your address? Now, here's why I asked that. Again, it's a little bit of a softball. Do they own it? Are they renting? I'm going to send them flowers. I send everybody flowers. Nobody dislikes flowers unless they're allergic, but generally I like to send flowers. Thanks for meeting with me. And now I have their address to do so. And then we want to know, like, how long are they owned? Do they rent? How long have they been in that property? How many properties have they owned in their lifetime? Now, some people say 10. You're like, wow, you've owned a lot of houses. All right, so that's kind of the first things, like where are you living now? How did you find that home? How many homes have you owned in your lifetime? And how long have you been looking for a new home? Okay, so first question, how did you start looking for your new home and what did you do next? Now, we know in today's day and age, 95% of them started where? Online. Yes, they all start online, which is great. We have educated buyers. We don't have to start from scratch. So what is the first thing you did when you started looking, and how long did it take you to find the home? And how did that process work for you? Sometimes I hear people saying like, oh, my agent did nothing. I found the house. I told him which house I wanted to buy. Ooh, that agent didn't show their value. That person thinks they found the house on their own. That's a little note to yourself. You need to show your value, and how including you in the process is not about going online and finding the house, right? There's more to it than that. What did you like the most about the realtor? Now the questions are getting a little bit harder, and we're just being really open about it. Would you like to do any changes on this purchase? Okay, so tell us the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's just ask what the person's looking for, because if they say that agent sucked, they didn't find anything for me, I did all the work. Okay, we need to show our value, or this person's gonna be hard to please. Like, again, you don't have to take every client. And then if you could just, pretend, how exactly would you like this to go? Let's just jot it down exactly how you'd like this to go. Nobody's going to say like, I want this to be a really stressful process, right? They want it to be easy. They want good communication. I feel like I need to see a lot of houses because last time I bought the first house I saw. Okay. They just need to feel like they're making a good decision. So how can we do that? Now, agents, when you get started, if you start tracking your hourly rate, if you can get them to purchase a house on the first or second time out, how much time will you save, right? If they start looking at you put them in your car 5, 6, 7, 8 times, we're not being efficient with our time. Our hourly rate just went way down. So we're trying to help them gain clarity, understand what they need. Some people need to see a lot of houses to feel like they have made an informed decision. So maybe you show them 8 houses at a time. How long have you been looking for a home? Wow, that's a long time. You've been looking for 8 years. Why have you been looking for 8 years? Are they hard to please? What's going on? And then finally, whatever state you're in, we say, are you familiar with the process here in Colorado? Sometimes we have a lot of people coming in from Colorado. They're like, well, I bought houses in New York, but Colorado's different. So are you familiar with the market conditions? So these are some preliminary questions to see how much education they need. Confused people don't buy houses. We need to have clarity. I want to make sure you have your buyer packet together. They should have already had that. Hopefully after you talked to them on the phone, you dropped one off or you emailed it over so that you don't have to talk about yourself. Talk about them. Let them talk. Let them lead the direction of the conversation. Great. Do you feel we're qualified to help you buy a house? They might say yes, but, and that's great. Okay, let's put that but aside. You're a new agent. You're going to get that. As a new agent, you're going to have people simply say, you're new. I don't know if you're the right person. All right, so then what we need to do is really understand not just what they're looking for in a house, but understand why. This is a step a lot of agents miss. So when they say, I need 4 bedrooms, you're like, really, why? You have no children. They're like, right, we're going to have children. Ooh, good one to know. We have a lot of out-of-state family. Great. We both need home offices. Great. Ask the why. So you're going to have 3 features. These are must-haves. Great. Must-haves, and then the why. I have another step where I actually give them both a piece of paper, assuming there's 2 buyers, because sometimes they're on the same page and sometimes they're really not. So the must-haves over here could conflict with the must-haves over here, and putting it down on paper makes you like, huh, interesting. Do you guys see what's going on here? You have some different wish list items. Now we need to talk about lending. I have a lot of people that say, do not put someone in your car until you know they're pre-qualified. I think that's a good rule. At least have the conversation. They have some jobs to do. It's not your job to drive someone around and then they figure out that they can't afford the house. They have some homework to do and you're going to help them get there. But this is a two-way street. You're not going to waste your time working with unqualified people. So, do you have cash? Do you need a loan? Do you need some lenders? Do you want a second opinion on that? If they work with your lenders, you know they're going to be good and you know they're going to get the job done. If they say, oh, I've worked with this online company before, they're great. Great, do you want a second opinion? So the more you can get them to work with one of your preferred lenders, the better the process is going to go. What are your expectations of me through this process? Yeah, how many of you guys have asked that question? A lot of us don't just ask the question because if we just get down to it, one, we're not afraid of the feedback. We are professionals. This is our job. We take it seriously. We want to make sure that we understand what they're asking for, what they need through this process. By not asking that question, you are setting yourself up for failure. Are there any other people that are going to help you pick your new house? Anyone got the kid in the car's first house, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, I need to pull my mom in. She used to sell real estate back in the 60s in South Carolina, and all of a sudden the mom is the one saying like, well, I would never give full asking price. Now you might be laughing if you've been doing real estate the last couple of years, you know that people go at or above asking a lot of the time, and 65% in my market, we go above asking. So it's important to ask that question early on. Does this person have a significant other that all of a sudden they kind of want that person's buy-in? It's good to know those things from the beginning. And then are you interviewing other agents? Just ask it. They say, yeah, I'm going to talk to 4 others. Great. When's your last interview? Great. That's good to know. I'll circle back with you at that point. How do my abilities measure up with the other agents if they've already met with people? And do you have questions about my service? Then there's going to be some other questions, some other precursors we want to talk about, like getting it 85% right. We want to talk about if the rates go up, how that affects their buying power, things like that. When do you want to start seeing properties? So that is just a quick synopsis of my interview that I like to do with buyers, but treat your business like a business and run it like a professional. Hope you enjoyed this tip. This is 90-Day New Agent with Libby Boyd.